Important Drey. Okay. I'm about to introduce you properly to one of my sources of information. To do with data centers. I've spoken about it heaps of times. I've done a couple of videos of hers that I've shared. I'm going to introduce you to her in a slightly different format, alive. And this, because she brings a receipt. This is why I like her. Well, them, it's a duo, right? This is why I like it. She brings a receipt. If you go to a Substack, it's all laid out. She shows you where's the information's come from, how it all matches up, where it lines up. And this is why I keep telling you, I've been saying it for ages, the capitulation to China has already happened. Not to China per se, but to BRICS nations. They've been all trying to get something. It was like a competition. Who wins between BRICS and Pax Judaica? They couldn't win it honestly, so they tried to destroy Iran. They tried to destroy the BRICS nations by trying to coax China out into the sea. So now America, now, it's not Trump. It's just the powers that be that control him. They're going to try and do it through Cuba now, through the Panama Canal. From this you will learn a lot about how Israel plays into this. We're starting to get really close to the Trilateral Commission here.
Okay. Hi everybody, I'm new to using my camera for the stream rather than my regular camera. So this is, let me know if you have any trouble seeing me or hearing me. Gabby and I, producer Gabby, we are...
Okay. Drey, well, I've got a pretty good pattern brain. I notice patterns. Terrible for mathematics, but I notice geological patterns, geopolitical patterns, cause and effect, all that sort of stuff. And it seems to float in the air, I hang on to it and it floats there. Not so much in a visual way, but like in a whole bunch of memories of geopolitical things that have gone on over the last 20, 30, 40, as long back as I can remember. And I still have things from 30 years ago that'll pop up now. And I go, that's what made that. That's how that connects. I don't try to force shit to connect. I just hold on to it. And when the right piece of that puzzle pops up and it fits without forcing it, right. But it has to fit. Hers fucking shits all over mine. Right? So, without further ado, Drey from the Drey Dossier.
Working on a couple of things that are going to make, I think, the lives a lot more fun and interactive. I won't get into details now, but we are working on it and it's super exciting. And I wish I could change the color of my thing. We'll do that next time. In any case, hi guys, it's good to see you. I know I took a week off and I appreciate everybody's understanding. I got sick and sick of this news, and so I'm happy to be back though. And if I occasionally am staring off, I'm staring into my old camera. I need to remember. You guys are right in front of me. But yeah, I was a little bit sick, and then I've been working on a couple of investigations, and there's a lot happening right now. I think what we're seeing is the culmination of a year after the big beautiful bill. A lot is getting implemented, which is part of why I wanted to start doing this thing where we go over the big beautiful bill at the beginning of each live and take a section and kind of talk through it. And
I'll just let it go, because when it comes to Drey, you just got to let it go. I don't like to interrupt it. You will notice a lot of parallels with the rhetoric coming from all of our parties, especially One Nation with this. You will notice a lot of parallels, and that's when you realise, hey, there actually is no political solution to this in Australia. The solution is in our hands and under our feet. Unless you get it, unless you really get it, that there are parallels with every single argument that's going on in Australia right now as to what's going on with things that you'll hear Drey talk about, then you just got to keep playing the silly game. You have to pick up on these patterns.
That's what we're going to do today. Again, because I think that there's just a lot of stuff happening that is a lot more methodical than I think people give the administration credit for, not in a good way. Something that I'm noticing and seeing is, like, as I talk through like certain theories that I have anyways, or different things that I'm noticing that the administration is doing and putting together, there's a lot of people who keep saying, oh, you're giving Trump too much credit, or Trump isn't capable of that or whatnot. I think it's important that we remember this is not Trump doing this stuff. He is the mere like stamp of approval for things. Like he could be completely lobotomized. Oh, there's not much to lobotomize, but he could be just like, he just needs to be able to sign a signature, and that's his entire role. And I think that that's important to remember, because that will tell you the motives of the people who are actually in control, and what their motivations are. And that a lot of that has to do with these tech bros, and then there's a hierarchy within them. And it's something that I think I want to explore a little more in depth, and probably like try to visualize. Like when I first started my Substack, one of the things that made me want to write about Ellison and this Who TF Am I Working For was the series, is because I think I wanted to see for myself what the visualization of power's relationship to each other is, but also like within tech specifically, because that's so apparent right now. And I'm thinking about trying to find ways where we can kind of create those almost like dance mom pyramids of like who is in what positions and what kind of permissions do they allow. Because as technology continues to evolve, it's not a bunch of like just isolated tech, right? It's not like OpenAI is over here, and then you have Palantir over here, and then Oracle over here. They're tech stacks, and it's these tech stacks that create a lot of value. And so even if we're behind, let's say China in their development of DeepSeek or any other AI there is something to these tech stacks that Oracle, like for instance, is putting together right now. So that is something that I'm working on in the old dome. So we'll maybe put something together for that soon. In any case, big beautiful bill time. So last week we discussed Gabs, let's go ahead and pull up the big beautiful bill, the law that passed. There was the kind of like sub intro to the big beautiful bill, and it like was a naming convention that oh, interesting, nice. And it's an interesting naming convention. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit there. Of that the bill didn't actually have a name title, and so they had to like basically use it to, let's see here. I think I can actually mess with it too, Gabs, if I perfect. Let's see if you go to section 1, that'd be amazing. Can I do anything with it? I don't think so. Oh, sorry, we're still working. One of the surprises is that Gabby and I are going to be in the same room next week. So that'll be fun. We're gonna start doing this together because I can't keep talking to the void of a lens. Like staring in a lens for like 90% of your career or like day is the worst. It's like staring into a black, the black hole of, I don't know. It's not something that comes natural to me and talking out loud to myself. But yeah, Gabby and I are gonna be in the same room. That's the surprise. All right, you got it out of us. Good God, you're relentless, guys. You're relentless. Um, but yeah, we talked about what the act was and what the naming conventions behind the act was, and the anomalies there. But we're going to talk about section, what the real first section, which is section the SNAP, and it's I think section A of Title One, and what it is meant to do. Here, let me kapow. I'm actually going to also put this on the stream. And sorry, guys. Okay. There we go. I'm going to add this to stage instead. Cool. Before we remove this person, remove and then add. Cool. Sorry. There we go. So this is the act we're going to talk about. Title One, Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry. Subtitle A, Nutrition, is the real first beginning of this. And there's a lot happening right now, specifically with SNAP. And I want to show you guys a video that kind of talks a little bit about this. But I think that this underlines the importance.
SNAP, for those who don't know, in the United States, kind of like the food stamps, that sort of shit. It's a dole kind of thing. They've got a lot of people going really hungry over there at the moment because their inflation gone crazy. Wages are terrible in the United States because they have a tip system, unlike us. We have a minimum wage. Their minimum wage is really low, and they have a tip system for most jobs. Unless you're working in a factory or something. But yeah, a lot of jobs require a tip system. So they're doing it pretty hard. Now imagine over there, if you're an Uber or a delivery guy or something, there's a tip system. If you don't get your tips because everyone's poor, you're barely scraping the barrel,
Of like going through and especially right now talking about it, because we are literally just over a year later and Title One is starting to hit really hard. Like this is affecting a lot of people right now. And so let me move my mic over here. So let me show you guys a little video to start. Here we go.
Pretty bad, and it could get a whole lot worse. I'm talking about what the Atlantic is calling the coming food stamp crisis. Right now, states are scrambling to meet an end of September SNAP deadline. Naturally, errors occur in the SNAP system. According to the Atlantic, errors occurred in 10.6% of payments last year. But as part of President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, states now have to keep those errors below a federal limit. If they don't, by the end of next month, they could be forced to take on hundreds of millions of dollars in new costs, which essentially means more tough decisions are coming for states that are already balancing tight budgets, whether it's finding new money to cover SNAP, cutting programs elsewhere, or changing how food assistance is doled out. The reality is people, kids, are already struggling because of these historic cuts. Just look at the local headlines we're seeing across the country this week. In Connecticut, nearly 19,000 children have lost access to federal nutrition benefits since July of last year.
Like I said, I'll try not to do this too much. But what we're looking at here, in Australia, you think we've got dole, right? We've got Centrelink benefits, we've got family tax benefits, care allowances, and all that sort of stuff. Trust me when I say NDIS is going bye-bye. A lot of things are going bye-bye. Look at the parallels of what's going on here at the moment. They've got their royal commissions into things. They got their Their investigations. I always forget the other one. Inquests. You know, the inquests where they investigate into Senate estimate inquests, and they in the Senate the senators where they look into, okay, where's this money going into this bureaucratic or NGO and this sort of stuff, and they're finding a whole lot. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. There are parallels going on here. But it's happening in a horrible way. People are needlessly suffering because of it. So, like I say, believe me when I say NDIS at some point is going bye-bye pretty soon. I think housing choices is going to get the arse. In these inquiries. We've got the NACC investigations. I'm kind of jiggling about with the jar to get the lid off. I'm trying to open a can of something myself here. Some people I think are seeing where I'm going with what I'm doing. I'm throwing myself under the bus to get it to happen. Why? Because if not me, then who? Someone has to go under the bus. Is what it is. So when we say, I'm going to say this real quick. When we say leave the hard jobs to the adults or to the big boys, yeah, right. Come and join me under the bus. That's why I say repentance is key. I've got crumb in my eye, biscuit crumb. Repentance is key, right? Come and join me under the bus. If you want to play the hard games with the big boys, you got to be prepared to take a dive. Not so much take a dive. You got to be prepared to open up a wound or two. So yes, hard times are coming. That's why I say you will notice parallels. Time is being bought, things are being pulled apart, and then things are being pulled apart till it's that bad that we beg for the digital AI government. And it ain't going to be anything like China's, but the first one was in China. They got the first mega data center in Jerusalem, in America. I'm not sure what's going on with Pine Gap, to be honest. She's the one that brings all the receipts on that. She's the one that put me onto it. She found the data center in China. Right.
According to state officials there, over in Maryland, more than 35,000 people are now off SNAP benefits because of federal changes, according to new data from the Maryland Department of Human Services. And in Virginia, more than 100,000 people have lost their benefits, according to the state's Department of Social Services. It's a difficult reality families are now living, and it's widespread. A single mother in Florida who relies on SNAP benefits said it's more than just food to her, it's a sense of security. Take a listen to what she shared with the nonprofit advocacy group Parents Together.
My family is on SNAP benefits, and what that means for me is being able to provide a stable meal for my family each night, to just have that security of making sure that my children aren't going hungry every day. To have that put in jeopardy by any budget cuts, it removes that security that I as a parent have. I know that being on SNAP is looked down on by a lot of people, but we're all families just trying to take care of our children. It gives me that extra boost of I can take care of my kids. I'm going to make sure my kids eat regardless. If that means I don't, it is what it is.
Joining me now is Mark.
I just want to say the concession.
She's probably going to say she's probably going to say something similar to me. We have that here, don't we? Fucking dole bludgers and rah-rah and everyone punching down. Yeah, right? Stop it. Because us poor bastards, I've been wealthy too, don't you? Not rich, but I've been fairly well off. I come from a business family, raced cars and stuff. We were pretty well off. It wasn't a happy home, but it had stuff, right? I've owned a business. I've been a business manager. I've paid a lot of taxes. In the 10 years I had a business plus a second job, you can imagine how much taxes I paid. Never got a cent of that back, right? So no, I don't have a sense of self-entitlement. I feel that I've earned what I am entitled to, and I help my community where I can. You know, I'm running around on mowed lawns of people that deserve it, right? They're helping themselves and they don't have the means to do that. I go do that, right? They're having surgery or something and I go do that. Why? It keeps the neighbourhood nice. It keeps a better standard of living for the neighbourhood, for the community. There's people that work that don't have time, like the lady across the road. I mow her front lawns and take care of that front of her place regardless. It's just my way of saying thank you. Okay? This is something that we're going to have to get used to doing. You can't see it. I probably shouldn't show you anyway. I'm setting up at the moment with what I can. At the moment, I'm well off enough to have a bit of spare money left over. Right. Well, I can show you. Where do I put those? But no. Where's that? No, it ain't a lot. Today I'm not going to see people hungry like milk. A little chocolate box full of all vegetables, different types of vegetable seeds. Right? I'd love to have more. I will get more. Right? I've already got a big garden full of spuds out the back growing. I'll do what I can. If you aren't doing that, you're way behind the 8 ball. No, just little things. I bought 3 full sets of these the other week, you know. They're good ones. They're like, I actually got a no interest loan, Nils loan to buy them. Full scan, 90 channels or something. Why? No matter what happens, the kids and I are going to be able to stay in contact. Right.
Of groceries is something that I think we think of as like the poorest parts of our country, but it affects a lot of us. You know, I'll speak for myself. I mean, as early as last year, like being in and out of work in Hollywood and constantly being laid off, there were some weeks where I would have to like say, okay, I either get YouTube Plus, or I get to go to the grocery store, or Newton gets food, or I get to go I get a bottle of wine this week or something. And I think we've kind of normalized these like little concessions that we have to make that we shouldn't, that that should be readily available to people who are working class people who live in this country. And I think that this categorization of which we'll get into in a minute, but the categorization of poor people as in as a class of people that aren't donating to elections, or are the least likely to vote, therefore they're the least expend, or the first to be expendable, is something that really troubles me. But we're going to continue on this for a second.
Exactly. I'm going to say, The property market has fallen down in Australia. Hard. This is going to happen. Look at what the primary ignition switch, if you want to call it that, the active constituent to the Great Depression of the 1920s was America had a property boom burst. They had a bubble burst in the property market. It's America. And we didn't have the debt that we had, and people knew how to do shit then. And that caused the Great Depression right across the entire West. Right? Right across. With our fiat currency based on promises. This time, America's $36 trillion in debt and climbing. We're over $1 trillion. New Zealand's in debt. Canada's in debt. Europe's in debt. United Kingdom's in debt. To the eyeballs, debt that we cannot service. To Unidroit, the Bank of International Settlements, which is linked to the Vatican. So yes, it is still Rome. Okay. This is where people go back to your fantasy books. I'm sorry, I'm not anywhere near a fantasy book. Not recognising that means you're living in a daydream. You're taking risks and sucking up the teat of government. Yeah, I know, right? I'm in a housing place. The taxes paid for it. I had money in the Commonwealth Bank when Paul Keating gave it away. As far as I'm concerned, he gave away our bank. And he gave away the Commonwealth with it, which is the public wealth and general goods of the nation. And we're the ones that create the public wealth and generate the public wealth with the general goods, which is the industry, the assets, the land, the mum and dad bricks and mortar businesses. That's the public wealth and general goods of the nation. All right? We're going to have to be there to soften the blow from those above us as they come screaming down to the ground, because they're going to fall hard. So that's okay. You can talk to us how you like for now. Just remember to say thank you and be a bit humble when we're there to pick you up.
Marsha Campo. She is the food services manager at Open M, which provides essential food services programs to the people of Akron, Ohio. Marsha, good morning, and thanks for joining us. What could this September deadline mean for your work there in Ohio at Open M?
Well, Vaughn, first of all, thank you for having me on, and thank you for highlighting the struggle of everyday Americans. We're seeing more and more people need our services. Our food pantry is busier than ever. And it's not just somebody that needs something temporary. This is essential. This is what we're finding. We're finding working families are coming to our pantry now, seniors on a fixed income, grandparents that are raising grandchildren, and the benefits are just not enough. And now with the looming deadline coming up, I don't know how we're going to be able to stretch any further than we are already.
According, Marsha, to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, quote, it's very likely that the number of children receiving SNAP has dropped by more than 1.5 million since July of 2025. Can you, number one, give me a sense of what the actual change means and who is qualifying and what the ramifications of the law passed last year are? And the second part of this is that the idea is often that there are too many people that are relying on federal handouts. Oftentimes that's the argument that Republicans especially are on the front lines of making.
Yeah, just on that what he said. I'm sorry, guys. Really am. Okay. Think about how things are being fudged as well in our statistics in the Australian Institute, the Australian Institute of Statistics. The employment numbers. If you've got a government job, you class it as employment, but where do your wages come from? The Reserve Bank of Australia. Borrowed money, okay, which has to be paid back with interest. And what do they use to pay that back with? Taxes, income tax, goods and services tax. Okay? So this business of, oh, my taxes pay your dole. No, they actually don't. They don't even come close. That's what I'm trying to say to you. They don't even come close to paying it. The money is borrowed. Okay, they tax the shit out of everything to the point where they're getting back. The government's getting back around 90% of everything that you earn, either directly or indirectly. Think about how my rent gets paid. It's borrowed from the Reserve Bank of Australia. Direct to Housing Choices, filtered down back to Homes Tasmania, and a portion of that goes into a fund which funds the tenants' union. And then Homes Tasmania and the tenants' union go to war together in courts to fight evictions. So that's going, there's also money and revenue getting dragged out for a little triangle fight in the court where all NGOs are just ripping money out of the government through bureaucratic channels. Do you see that now? The economy is a load of shit. It's a sell. It's a lie. It's a fabricated metric. It's the financial system. Even fucking Epstein tried to tell you this. It's in the Epstein files, for crying out loud. In his interview with Steve Bannon, he actually explains how it works. He touched on it, and I'm like, yeah, I see all that. I've seen that for years. If you've owned a business and you've also been poor and you've looked into things at all, then you've like had to balance books and do right profit and loss spreadsheets and all that sort of shit. You don't let the missing teeth fool you. Okay? Your taxes aren't even coming close to paying for it. If you really knew what was going on, you'd be fucking furious. You wouldn't be paying taxes. I'm telling you. This is why I'm saying the fix is not in the parliament. The fix is in your hands, under your feet. It's not in a pencil or a biro. It's in doing. Not protesting, the opposite. We're going to have to build our own. We're just going to have to. Sorry, suck it up, buttercup. We're just going to have to. If I can do it, what I'm doing, what's your excuse? I'm a single full-time dad with a son with autism and a teenage daughter. What's your bloody excuse?
Can you tell me about the reality on the ground and who is receiving these benefits?
Right. So there was a lot of change last year in the benefits and who qualifies. Veterans and homeless are no longer, they have to have a work requirement, 20 hours a week. They have to volunteer or work in order.
And not only 20 hours a week, but I found some data that was showing that it has to be 80 hours a month, 80 hours plus, and this includes veterans. I'm sorry, you only just fought. Some people are missing arms and legs and missing, part of their family, and they have to come back and they have to have to show an 80-hour a week or an 80-hour a month instead of what it used to be 40 hours. And veterans, I think, even had like fewer hours they had to do. It's the whole, and the fact Donald Trump yesterday, where the White House was like, oh, Donald Trump loves veterans. This is how we're going to take care of veterans. Like, I cannot stress how, like, literally next to the impoverished, the class right next to the impoverished that gets taken advantage of the most is the veteran class. Like, the people who are literally convinced to give their lives for this country are treated as like the second most expendable class. It's so makes me mad.
To receive those SNAP benefits. There are seniors that are raising their grandchildren that don't have the capabilities to go out and work. They raised the limit from 55 years old to 64 years old. So those people that fall just in that little age gap are now having to work in order to receive SNAP benefits. Like I said, our pantry is busier than ever. These are people that have never had to use a food pantry before. And we're seeing more and more families that are coming in, mothers that say that they have to make essential choices or, difficult decisions every single day, feed their family or, pay rent or fill a prescription for their child or feed them or pay rent. It's terrible. What we're seeing right now, Vaughn, it's awful.
Marcia, more than 200 mayors signed a recent letter calling on the Senate to delay more SNAP cuts, saying America's mayors are on the front lines of deepening food security crisis. Food security is found.
Before we let him continue, there is something important to, I think, make note of with the timing of this, because their punishment is always in phasing shields, right? And I think that this is true with a lot of countries. We see this in North Korea, or we did when we had access more to their news and whatnot, and especially this idea of starvation to some degree. I mean, that's a pretty, I think that's a big word, but for lack of a better term, that feeling of not being able to access food
Famine.
is something that is weaponized around elections, and it's to keep people docile and weak. Because I remember years and years ago when I was younger hearing a quote from, it was like, my mom was showing me some videos, like a leaked video from North Korea years ago. It was like a big deal in the news and stuff. And it was a woman who was talking about how she was like maybe in her 30s, and how she hasn't eaten like more than a slice of bread basically in weeks. Like, where she has to basically take this like one slice of bread every day, and like that's what she gets once a day. And she said, you never realize how easy you are to control until you're hungry. And that has always kind of sat with me in a really, scary way. And I think about that with SNAP benefits, and the fact that the next phase, or, this is, basically parts of it hitting later, like right after midterms, like, another wave slowly starts hitting, and, right before 2028 election, another wave hits. And there is such a control of the masses through the means of starvation, I think. And that's something to make note of.
To the health, prosperity, and resilience of American cities. Hunger is not a partisan issue, and efforts to address food insecurity should rise.
I'll give you an ugly picture that describes it real well. Have you ever watched them bum wars, bum fights, where they pay two homeless bums, go $50 to the winner, and they punch the living shit out of each other for $50. And their mates, two mates, will punch the living shit out of each other for $50. And impoverished people will do anything you want if you're the one in charge.
About political divisions, when you're talking about what you want folks in Washington to understand, not only just what families are going through, but also the burden, its impact on organizations and people like you, are you able to sustain, and can you fill that gap, not just now, but as you're looking down the road with the expectation that even more are going to be following off of these benefits?
Absolutely not. When we come in every day, our volunteers and our staff work from the minute we step in that door until the minute we go home, trying to feed. That's what we do. We're here to feed the flock. That's what we do. And our resources are diminishing. Obviously grants, we're, looking for grants, but more foundations are trying to cover more agencies because of what's going on. Funding, even our individual donors, their budgets are stretched. And so their donations are down. So we're having to come up with, ways to bridge that gap, I guess.
Marcia Campo, Food Services Manager at Open M. Marcia, I realize that this is not a long-term conversation, but an immediate one for so many families every day and every week.
For sure.
Please keep us posted here as we watch this progress. I appreciate your time today.
You're muted.
Sorry, something else I want to show you. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, amazing. Something else I want to show you guys is this book. It is written by it's Cloward's Regulating the Poor in 1971. And their thesis in this book is that welfare systems aren't really about any compassion or savings or anything like that. They're obviously about regulating the low-wage labor market. And when aid is available and unconditional, workers can, refuse the worst of that. And it is one of the earlier public welfare pieces that, at least applicable to this country and the way we have our law set up, and how when aid is scarce, that like it's humiliating and loaded with work requirements, and people are forced to take any job that's available. 15-year-olds with this change in the big beautiful bill are considered no longer dependent. So you have to be a self reliant. Like if you are say orphan and you're 15 years old, you're considered an adult now, and it's kind of like one of the sleeper parts of this bill that is truly upon. And I think that with this, again, it's you can't simplify snaps in like a one sentence and what its goal is. I think there's a bunch of layers of goals here. But I do think that suffering is a very functional lever for this administration. And so I think you have to ask not only like, how are people suffering, but what does the suffering allow for? And so I think it's pretty bleak and fitting that this is the first title in the bill. And it's also very closely linked with agriculture too. And we're seeing a lot with that. And that's kind of a conversation for a whole nother time. But yeah, the agriculture element is also, there is also very closely paired with it. But yeah, I think that it's something that just makes me feel like we need to pay closer attention to is this regulation of the poor, because it's going to trickle down. Economics tends to trickle more so this way than it does with actual wealth. And especially once we see it going from the poorest class to the veteran class, then you know that we're the next class. And so it's important to keep an eye on that. Something a little more anecdotally that I wanted to show you guys too is when I was looking up.
Now, what you got to keep in mind is I said like this and that, you'll learn a bit in this. It's parallels with us, as you can see. It's right. If you can't see it, open your bloody eyes and get out of your echo chambers. Get out of your echo chambers. Go and have a look at the people you don't like on their pages, on their platforms, and just go through it. See what they're talking about. Don't comment. Don't get in arguments with people. People have been doing that with me, and I'm actually like, no, I'm not sitting on the fence. I'm standing on it. I'm not swapping sides and just going, no, I'll go over here for a while because it suits me. No. I'm standing on the fence, and I'm not getting off it. I'm looking down, and I'm like, this is a fucking mess. Everyone's backyard's a mess. Mine's tidy. Okay? I've got no skeletons in my closet. I've got no secrets. I'm not hiding anything. You go back, and you go back from where I started, and you will even see a physical change in me. Right? You'll even see how I've evolved a little bit, and I've changed my mind on some things. That's not being wishy-washy. That's being critically minded and able to change, able to correct myself because I was incorrect before. I don't like being wrong. I don't have to be right. Just need to be correct. Right? Think about the Greater Israel Project. What do you think? It just stops with Palestine? Seriously? Think about the Greater Israel Project, which is the Israel World Order. It's failed. They're going to try every which way from Sunday to bring it. There's also the land consolidation into 10 zones. Right? Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to learn to live with Islam. You're just going to have to learn to live with it. Not with crazy Muslims, with Islam. The whole cameras thing is what I don't like. That's control out of fear. That's not acting right just because it's the right thing to do, because, it's the godly thing to do, because that's a Christian thing to do, which most of these Christians haven't got a clue. Well, you have, but you're not taking it serious. because through Shahid Balsan and getting to know Islam a little bit better has made me a much more staunch, better Christian. And I get along far better with Islam than I do a Christian. Go figure. You're going to have to put a lot of stupid prejudices to bed. Look at everyone in Parliament. Bob Catter getting around with his little pin on his lapel, the little Ashkenazi star. It's not the Star of David. There's no such thing. It's the Ashkenazi star. The Star of David's a made-up concept. Pauline getting around with the scarf. Everyone, I stand in solidarity with Israel. Then you got the other ones that they started to get around with the tiny hats. You know, the little Israel caps, that's what the tiny hats are. That's the tiny hat brigade. Then you got the big fez hat brigade. They're still tiny hats. We've got to watch them rabbis. Same as the Pharisees. No good. Now, the burqa nutcases, yeah, they got to go. Doesn't mean we're going to go and murder them and carry on. Like, you know, we're just murderers then, aren't we? And that's just a little place in Afghanistan. It's not Iran or Palestine or anywhere else. Russia, Orthodox Christians in Russia get along quite fine with the Islamic leaders. They have an Islamic Christian summit every year and it goes like clockwork. They don't have a problem. We're going to get disorder whether we like it or not. But how it goes and whether we get to keep God's sovereignty is on us. You got to stop this stupid sovereign border shit because it's going anyway, whether you like it or not. Right? You got to stop worshipping fucking governments and politicians. Stop making idols out of meat. That's what you're doing. You're making idols out of walking, talking meat. Right? Submit unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. Right? Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. God's sovereignty isn't Caesar's to take. Pay unto Caesar what is owed to Caesar. God's sovereignty is not Caesar's to take. Are we starting to understand the mark of the beast a little bit better now? The system's coming whether you like it or not. Are you going to submit to it? You just might have to use its economics. Depending on how this goes. And this depends on how you go. Is it the end times? I don't know. That's on us. It's definitely the season. But we're not to know the day or the hour. That could be in another 1,000 years. It might be another season exactly the same. Do you get it? There's no point just throwing your hands in the air and going, oh, this is it now. It's the end. I'll just get on my knees and pray until the last day. Well, it definitely is then, isn't it? That's called giving up. I'm just going to take it and just go to hell. Well, you're definitely signing your own death warrant to hell, aren't you? You see? And it's a fucking long time dead. Hedge your bets. I'm hedging mine. I'm not playing it safe, I'm playing it right.
Some of this stuff earlier, I was like looking up for SNAP benefits and pull this off. And in my Google search, the first things that come up are like when you just type in like SNAP and you go to news, 90% of it is because Meta and Snap have just decided this last week to be, oh my God, paired in this, new, whatever partnership. And also this last week is when Snap payment error rates are going to start costing people millions. And it's also going to be when like every state is rolling out all of these, lack of grocery benefits. And like this last week has hit really hard for Snap, the food insecurity bills as it pertains to this big, beautiful bill. And it also I think it's funny that this is also the week that Snap stock is jumping around because of its new partnership with Meta Glasses. So, it's a little bleak. Anyways, moving on. I need to quit looking at this camera. That's not the right camera, Gabby. Let's go into the main part of today that I want to talk about is we're going to talk about a lot of different things, but I want to talk about the Paramount merger a bit. And I also want to talk about Jerry Fillade, which I posted about if you follow me on social media. And if you don't, you absolutely should follow me on X or Instagram. TikTok I can kind of do without, but either of those is good.
So let's talk about Paramount. You're about to find another parallel. Paramount is part of the media merger. The media merger. Where all the media companies have been bought up by Larry and David Ellison and Peter Thiel. Now what's going on over here? Pauline Hanson's trying to get rid of the ABC. She's also buying up. She's basically bought Carl Stefanovic. Right? Don't think she hasn't. Of course she has. Between her and Gina Reinhardt, they bought Carl Stefanovic. They bought 4GB or whatever it's called. What's his name? Bought him. In the radio station. She's got Rupert Murdoch. Well, more to the point, Rupert Murdoch's got her. That round little pinky. Sky News. Now they got the other one. What is it? 24 News or some bloody thing. Which is just right-wing cuckoo. And don't be thinking that Tony Tonkin's not on the same game. Because of course he is. Why? We need the left-right dialectics. You need that left-right fight to keep going on. Why? Because people think someone's on their side. People are, and they keep going to leave it to their saviour. Right? Like Albert Pike said, when the people need a hero, we shall give them one. So we're seeing another parallel here, just slightly different. How are we getting all these parallels? Project 2025, right? The Australia Project is the same thing, just slightly different to suit our dynamics of our society. So no, I'm not in the fantasy books, mate. Sorry to tell you. I just don't have my head up my ass.
I want to talk about he's a Nigerian debut novelist who AI got his book deal pulled, and it's like a whole thing. And I'm working on an investigation, but I wanted to go over that a little bit today, along with how this war right now in Iran, even though we're at peace and we're like definitely not at peace, how those kinds of announcements are affecting the stock in certain ways for certain companies, allowing a mechanism of more acquisition and control. But starting with Jerry Fillade. So Jerry Fillade, let's see. He is a Nigerian novelist. Some of you, if you follow me on Substack, perhaps you remember my piece about Mia Ballard's book, the Shy Girl novel. And she had a little bit of a different situation happen with her, but in the same idea that she basically got her book taken off shelves after it was published. She was working with Hachette, the UK book publication company, this multi-million-dollar company, and it's one of the big five literary agencies. And they found, after editors already looked at these books and at her book and did edits, and after all of these different conversations and selling rights and stuff, they put the book, they did an early release in the UK, only to rip it off the shelves after Pangram Substack's newest loaded gun had grabbed a bootleg copy of her manuscript off of oceansofpdf.com, threw it into Pangram. It came out as like 78% AI, and it stirred up this whole thing. And Hachette got so much backlash from the public, just even before that score came out, because Reddit threads were already kind of talking about it and stuff. The whole thing was just handled horribly. And I bring that up to say that, I think it's totally, valid to say, I don't want to read an AI book, and I can tell that that was AI before Pangram, blah, blah, blah. I think those are conversations that are worth having, and that's why, it's important to care about art and have those communities. However, my point in that is the way that organizations right now are handling the quota that has to be hit for like AI use or whatever it is in order to then just ruin someone's career is not regulated at all. There is no sense of agreement in that, and it's all obfuscated and it's all kept very secretive and private. And my point with Mia's was that I worry that when technology and these new changes start happening to societies, and especially in America, we always see that it hits communities of color first. It hits Black men and women first, and then the rest of it hits us after. And seeing how the precedent was set with Mia, I was, felt like it was only a matter of time before this is going to start happening again and again. And right now we're on our third out of 3 AI book deals that were pulled from under people's feet. All 3 of those authors were debut authors, and they were Black authors. And so Jerry Fallade, let me see if I can find a picture of him, or if I don't think they included a picture. He was at Southern Methodist University. Let's use this. So he has his bachelor's of arts and his master's of arts, and he focuses. My academic work explores the reconstruction of Black masculinity in contemporary African American and African I always mispronounce this one. Diasporan. I always do. Literature. I'm particularly interested in how mental health and Black male vulnerability are portrayed in the writings of authors such as Ta-Nehisi Coates and Marlon James. So his book, from what I understand, is about a chemist. I don't have the manuscript. I'm not going to go into it because I don't think most people have a lot of information on the plot. But it was basically it was in this bidding war with all these book publishers for, I think, it ended up being $4 million 14-way bidding war about this chemist. And there's this something about murder and chemistry and what. This was essentially the largest acquisition of a book deal since the Hunger Games. And so everybody was losing it over that. And like my manager and I were talking, and he was like, everybody was freaking out about it and they loved it. And Hollywood was getting ramped up and was so excited. And all of a sudden it just stopped. And all of a sudden an email went out, and that, it was done. Nobody was getting this book. And there's a lot to unpack there. He had agents, Jerry. I'm not exactly sure where his agents are. I think they were at UTA, but he had agents, and his basically, we'll go to the Guardian article and let them, since they reported on it, talk us through it. But I know Guardian. A high-profile publishing deal for a debut crime novel has collapsed after doubts emerged over whether artificial intelligence played a role in writing it. The hotly anticipation manuscript "Call Me, I'll Hide the Body" by Jerry Fallade was withdrawn from sale by its agent, despite reportedly receiving an offer worth more than $2 million. It varies across it. Some sites say 4 million, some say 2.5, some say 3. So that tells you that people are all getting different information, which I think is important in cases like this. From Minotaur, owned by Macmillan US as a part of a 14-way auction, the plan was to publish it in 2028. So Mia Ballard was a self-published author who her self-published book got picked up and then, went to print. He didn't have the publication yet. He hasn't published it. He was working on it, and he, I think, just had a treatment or something ready for it. An email was sent to publishers by Fallade's agents and seen by The Guardian said, Jerry Fallade produced an incredible manuscript that dazzled us and the top publishing professionals around the world. Unfortunately, we are no longer able to authenticate how the manuscript fully evolved from origin to completion. And that's really interesting. I'll come back to that in a second. During the submission process, we vetted the manuscript with Jerry for AI and felt trusting in his reassurance that it was written without utilizing AI as a resource in writing or editorial process. We can no longer substantiate that, and we are withdrawing the book. Now, there were a couple things that I found pretty weird about this, okay? Beyond just the obvious, the people who are the most vulnerable are going to suffer from these lack of not only regulation, but this lack of structure around what the bar you have to hit for any of this is. It's like the pangram argument I made in a video on socials last week or 2 weeks ago, talking about how, these tools are kind of archaically putting together these mathematic equations of how they're looking for AI, and they're adding numbers together, and then they're assuming over certain numbers, and it becomes this kind of very black or white score, and none of it has any regulation standard or anything. It'd be like, how the planes have the FAA, right? There's a standard in which you have to hit in order for a plane to be considered safe. That's across the board. Everybody has the same standard. That way you can regulate it. The whole point in not wanting to regulate this is that there can never be a standard that's created. And that's one of my biggest qualms with the way that I'm seeing these AI conversations in Congress and everything happen. Everybody's kind of going, toe to toe for these little well, this should be outlawed and this shouldn't. And this should be, in these kinds of very social media versus, AI use in science and whatever. And I think that those are all just the wrong conversations, because until we can say, here's the standard in which, for copyright law or whatever, that we are going to accept AI, then we are going to be completely screwed downhill. I mean, everything else is downhill from that. And the most immediate jump I see is when, let me pull up a copyright case really quick for you guys. Because I was looking into this the other night. Yes, data sovereignty. Oh yeah, AI infringement cases. Here we go. Share this tab instead. Let's see. Yeah, cool. So I've been keeping up with all of these different infringement cases. Richard Kadri versus Meta, Sony, SDNY, multi-district litigation, or Sony versus Uncharted Labs. There's one that is, Sarah versus Stability, Disney, Hendrix versus Apple. No. There's one I think that's called Baxter versus, it's the book burning, or it's the one that kind of came on the back end. Yeah. Baxter versus, Baxter versus Claude was a 1947 archives Texas legal case. Oh, Lucille Baxter versus Claude Baxter. Oh my God, I gotta put a pin in that. Okay, I'll pull it up in a different thing. But I was reading about the book destroying, and I put quotes because there's a lot of copyright regulations that are kind of surrounding that, but the book destruction being a means of keeping a clean a clean timeline of use of a book. So basically they've been ripping the spines off of books because they are doing these mass scans to put it into these data libraries. Even if they don't end up training the model on that book, they want to have a data library available. And just for ease, it's easier to take the spine off of a book. They've been buying just in bulk from these book dealers, from what I saw. And it's a really interesting case of the provenance. That's the provenance chain of AI copyright books. So anyways, we have gotten no further in the copyright legal side of things. And yeah.
I've seen what she's talking about. It's a big guillotine. I've seen what you're talking about. It's a big guillotine. You got a book laying down, bang, and it cuts it straight through there, bang, and then the book's open, and it goes on through a thing, and it's basically copies the book, page for page, scans it and copies it.
This is what I'm talking about.
The Ministry of Truth, eh?
Yeah, they're putting these data libraries, and they may not be used, but Bart's versus Anthropic. That's it, not Baxter. But Lucille Baxter, I feel for you. Here we go. Arts versus Anthropic. Let's pull this up. Share this instead. So this is a case that I was reading through the other day, and it was kind of talking about whether or not the way that the Claude had been putting together these authors' work was, considered a copyright infringement, and essentially where the case ended up, it's still, I think, being actively litigated, but where it keeps coming to is these judges are deciding that books are that the physical purchasing creates a cleaner legal argument, but that human created materials being strategically scarce are they're allowing AI to be treated as a human learning. The whole point of copyright has been to be able to allow science to use your work to further the exploration of something, but also keep the public good and make it available for everybody so nobody can privatize knowledge. That's kind of been the idea behind copyright back in the day. Now all it does is serve the people who are not the authors or not the creators. And it's a really messed up thing. Copyright, I almost feel like we should abolish it and start over with a new thing, because copyright is clearly not something we can apply to AI. Judges, the way that if they're applying the law to copyright, AI just keeps being able to skirt in these loopholes of it. And I just don't think that it's the right case. And which is why I kind of keep always going back to constitutional arguments of it, of not having the right to not quarter soldiers and keeping your data away from AI warfare data. That's a whole nother conversation. But so in any case, I bring this up because I think that there's
well, here's a shocker.
balance.
Here's a shocker. How many different ways the same Bible? If you look at an American translation to, say, an American English translation, as opposed to a British English translation, because they spell shit different, they have slightly different terminologies, it can be exactly the same Bible. Exactly. Oh, it's not authentic. Why? Because we found 3 words that are different. That's a scary thought.
It's happening here that we're also seeing in the in Jerry's book deal and stuff, and that everybody is being assumed guilty until proven innocent, which is not how this country is supposed to work. And you have to constantly, right now, without this regulation, you have to be able to prove the provenance of your writing in a way that feels nearly impossible. And I brought this up because I wanted to show you guys a let's see, I was working on this case last night, and I found some interesting so Hollywood. Okay. So I think that I had started boiling down where this started breaking down for me, and where the rug got pulled out from underneath him, because publishers were all cool with it. And editors maybe had some concerns here or there, but I noticed something in the breaking of this story. And it was that, let me pull up the link for it. So Deadline, okay, yeah, let's grab the Deadline article. Let's see, no, it's Futurism. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. Hollywood, forcing. Okay, let's see. Pull up Deadline. There we go. Okay, so the timeline of how this happened to this kid. Let's go back to here. Share this tab. Okay, so the timeline of what happened to Jerry is that the withdrawal came email, which everybody was able to read. Specifically was sent out, I noticed, to publications in Hollywood. So Deadline obtained it. And that's when I think that they broke it originally. And they had broken the story as, they said Jerry, oh gosh, what's his last name? Jerry Fillade. Had, they basically gave kind of a similar thing to the Guardian here, but they were the first ones to publish it. I thought that was interesting that the publishing world didn't get that story first, but Hollywood did, because that means probably that the rights for this book were being competed for in Hollywood, and that's probably where whatever AI citation that they decided was damning enough to pull it probably happened, because this, again, the publisher, everybody had been using this book. They had said that they weren't going to use an AI tool to check if it was AI written, that they were going to take his word, and that they used their process to confirm that it wasn't AI written, and they trusted the whole process. Hollywood's a little more, how do you say, will screw you over, speaking from experience. I was working at an agency at the time, APA, that in 2023, this guy in this book, Jerry, and this IP came actually to APA, and I didn't work for the agents that, the literary agents that were doing this deal. I was in TV, but I sat right next to the assistant, whose literary agent was talking about wanting to get like the IP of this book when it first like started kind of coming in small, circles around Hollywood. So it was really interesting. But I looked in my back catalog of stuff from that agency. I couldn't find anything. But so I think that this happened, though, for sure. This breakdown must have happened during the IP conversations in Hollywood. Like, there's no way, because I looked at the Deadline article, and let's see, when you pull it up, Deadline Jerry Fillade, it says something pretty interesting. Jerry Fillade. There we go. Did they pull the? No, they didn't pull the Deadline article, right? Interesting. Okay. So Deadline, last night I could find it. So they published it in Deadline first, but then Deadline made a couple of changes to it. Oh, now I gotta find it. Deadline obtained it first, blah blah blah. And then the defamation claims. Interesting. Okay. So, because I put the link in the Wayback Machine, and I saw that they made some changes to the article. So on record, the on July 30th, the Deadline published Jerry's name at 10:03 a.m. Eastern time, and they published their story about when it happened. And then and I wish I freaking had the link still. I'll have to find it. It's in my notes somewhere. But then I found that the way that it was written, like the name was gone and the copyright language had been softened, where they said we cannot register, or they cannot register copyright if there's anything AI in the mix, was what the original thing said. It said we cannot register any copyright IP works, blah blah blah, if there's anything AI wise in the mix. And it was changed to may not be able to, and then whatever it had said, if there are certain AI elements, with no editor's note saying that they had made an edit. In journalism, you're supposed to say, like, this was edited at this time. And then they took his name out and they put brackets and they said the author's name removed for complicated reasons. And this happened, it was at 1809, which was a 765. It was like 5 p.m. or something like that, on July 30th. So it was like later that day. So clearly some other conversations had happened and it had changed. And I just thought that it was really interesting that Deadline broke it first, and then they had to change how they broke it. And then the Guardian story came after that. And I believe, all the other stories started trickling out like August 4th and August 1st and stuff. But so I was trying to dig into that Deadline article, who wrote it and who I could get in touch with. And I'm trying to get in touch with Jerry. So Jerry, if you're out there, Mia Ballard reached out to me after I made a video about her, and I talked to her about her case. And so yeah, I definitely I'm trying to find Jerry so that so we can talk about it, because there's something really suspicious going on right now with the way that this kind of dissolved in Hollywood. And I'm wondering if, because of all these copyright lawsuit cases, which is why, to bring it full circle, why I brought that up, is because they're not able to right now monetize movies that, like, if there's a certain provenance. I'm out of Hollywood now, so I don't have the inside scoop like I normally would. I'll have to call some friends. But I'm sure that they've gotten to a point now of where there's tools that Hollywood's using, that only Hollywood knows about, and like studios know about, that they're throwing things in. Because I know when I worked in Hollywood, they used to have me use AI tools that I would have to throw things in as an assistant that we weren't supposed to tell the creatives that we were doing. And so I'm very curious what it is. But like there's a law that freaking Trump's trying to pass that says third party AI tools can't be held accountable or held reliable for any effects that it has on the provenance of AI or something like that. It's all BS and it makes me mad. But I wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. I'm going to be working on this story
I've got it.
as it is very new.
Hey, Dre, I think I know what it is. Hang on. I think I know what it is. Could be wrong on this. Now I'm going to get something up. I've spoken about this before. The Defiance Act. That, right, to do with AI deepfakes. If they pass it on one to two, but that's only to do with somebody makes a porn with somebody's face on it. No, it's anything deepfake. Anything that's anything done to do with AI against somebody's knowledge, because they'll put it in through porn, right, whether it's an image or a video. If somebody's put into a porn against their will or against their knowledge, right, it turns out to be AI deepfake. Whoever made that can be sued by whoever's image has been used for that. $100 Donald Trump is using Hollywood to backdoor that to try and, all right. The reason why do I believe that AOC is genuine on that? Because I don't think she was genuine on the defund Israel thing. That was a Trojan horse. She might have been duped into it. I don't know. But I definitely believe she's absolutely 100% almost past the point of believe. Would almost go to the point of saying no. It's because Paris Hilton has funded this with her own money because it goes deep, cuts real deep with Paris. And she had a sex tape made of her against her will. She didn't even know that there was a sex video being made and released. Right, a private video. Right. The Defiance Act. That, if Paris gets that through, right, which I'm pretty sure it's happening, means that they cannot say, oh, that wasn't us on that file. It's an AI deepfake. Prove it wasn't. Right? Oh, well, it's an AI deepfake. Well, who made the AI deepfake? You're still getting sued and you're still going to jail. See? I believe Trump is trying to backdoor that, saying, oh, yeah, but the copyright. Who owns the copyrights to the deepfake? Because with the Defiance Act, whoever, it's not just whoever makes the movie or makes the image, it's whoever owns the AI company or the recording company that they used to make it, whatever AI program they used to make it, whether it be I don't know what they call them, Gronk, fucking Grub, whatever, Gronk, Grug, the Grug deepfake. But yeah, that's what I think it is.
And as it unravels, there's something going on, and Jerry was taken for a ride, and he's now the third Black author that this has happened to. Yeah, where is this? Yeah, wait, okay. Weird, I couldn't find it earlier. Okay. Here it is. Yeah, so the novel. No, maybe so. Okay, wait. I can do this. Man, there we go. Right? No. Yeah? Cool. Panic. God, all these what is it? What am I reading? What am I supposed to? I'm just upset. I'm sorry, guys. I say this sometimes. If I ever the Drey dossier looks anything like this at any point in time, where just somebody just come to put me out of my misery because something bad has happened. This is insane. How are you supposed to get? Look at this one line of text that's in between advertisements. This is bullshit. What has happened to news? Okay, sorry. God, I hate this so much.
I know, I didn't smell all the time.
For a set of reasons, I had to remove the author's name. Was sold to monitor blah blah for $2.4 million. So that's a different number than and is imperiled from the following footsteps of the publishing phenomenon: The Horse Whisperer, and 50 Shades of Grey, and The Hunger Games. So that's weird, right? And then wait, let's put this into. Let me throw this in the Wayback Machine again so we can see the original. Da, 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 dee, da. And then we'll go to the actual thing that we need to talk about today because it's already been in. Okay, we'll just do this. Wayfair, no, Wayback Machine. Wayback Machine. Okay.
Oh, that's a thing. Wayback Machine. There you go.
Let's see. Okay. Exclusive from. Okay, yeah. So this was the original, 10:03 a.m. No.
Now, once you're looking at it, Drey.
I hate that they do this. Right, it's okay. I've got other options. Okay, archive MD. Let's go. Let's do this. You know what? This should be illegal. You should not be able to take away information. They probably put something in the code of this freaking. Let's see what they put in the back end of this. See if we can get rid of it. Block paragraph, blah, blah, blah. I wonder, I'll have to look into this, but I know you can dismantle or take out some of this stuff so that it doesn't actually register in these Wayback Machines. You can delete. You used to be able to delete paywalls too. What if we just
got more bloody prowess than me? I would have gave up.
What if we just what happens if we do this?
Nothing.
Hmm?
It's broken.
I don't know. All right, I'm gonna play around with this later. I'm learning. But yeah, they put blockers in so that you can't actually look this stuff up online. Let's see who's tracking us. All right, sorry. This is my ADD. All right, moving on. Today we're also going to talk about Paramount Pictures. This brings us to the finale of what I want to talk about, which is Paramount Pictures had a story. Let's see, here we go. Add to stage. Yes, the Ellison critics.
David Ellison, Larry's son.
I kind of want to be able to.
For those who don't know.
Might pull it up myself really quick, Gabs, because I want to be able to control it myself. There's the Ellisons, as you guys know, I've been following that quite closely. Here we go. Copy and paste. And I wrote about this in my last deep dive about what the Ellisons' plans are and whether or not CNN is a part of that. And it definitely seems to be. I see a share screen. David, there we go. Okay, and let's see if I had it in the reader or whatever. Okay, so this was written by David Ellison today. This morning, this came out. So a little bit to catch you guys up on where this sits is that the Ellisons are bidding for WBD. There's been an injunction, and there's Rob Bonta from California. He was the one who kind of headed this injunction. And right now, I believe they were trying to get a court date set for right after November 3rd. So on the 4th, right after midterms, to then discuss the case and whether or not it's a monopoly problem for the antitrust law. And so I think there's a lot of things about this that's interesting to me, because the freeze, the block on the merger is around antitrust. And the biggest problems that I see, I mean, of course, antitrust, but like the foreign money is kind of something that is having to be taken from the side, like attacked from the side. And the Democratic state AGs are the ones who are doing the blocking. So it's not the DOJ or anything. They are the ones who kind of like waved through all of this pretty willingly. And yeah, they right now Ellison has a personal guarantee. You guys should watch my deep dive on this if you want to get all the catch up on it. But essentially, a lot of what Ellison is putting up in his personal guarantee of $40.4 billion is backed by Oracle stock, which means that he doesn't necessarily have to be liquid for that cash right now, because it's the UAE and the Saudi money and all of that coming in that is going to be the more liquid cash. But his Oracle stocks are ever fluctuating, right? And so, but at the time it was like they were worth way more than I believe, well, up until recently. They like took a plummet this last week, but now they're up. Once the ceasefire was announced, or the peace plan was announced, or whatever, all of a sudden Oracle stocks went up, which we're going to talk about that in a second. But there's a lot of a controlling mechanism here with wars and stocks. And so Ellison has his stock bet on a lot of different things because he's not actually liquid for that cash. And so I made a piece called the merger that needed a war. And it was when we first started, bombing Iran with Israel, and that it created a lot of opportunity for the day of the merger that was supposed to happen, and like they were going to be looking over banks and receipts and stuff, that Oracle stock it starts getting manipulated at that point. So there's a lot of things that complicate wars and that wars allow, and one of those things is if you are going to run off of credit your whole life, which is what Ellison is doing, it allows him to have more flexibility with that credit and to have more value in that credit. And so I wanted to read out loud because I haven't actually read it yet. I wanted to wait for you guys. I haven't read the David Ellison piece. And so this is what he wrote this morning. David Ellison, in defense of the Paramount Warner deal, real creative guy, as you can tell. There's some David Ellison. Okay, wait. Little David Ellison lore. David Ellison wanted to be an actor. Let's pull his his IMDb. And he was not successful. And like, I'm not just trying to rag on someone's kid for being a nepo baby. Like evil family, like full on evil family. So his dad, he was in a couple of, let me show the screen. He was in this movie, I'll see if I can find the screenshot from it. They've been like, he has Skydance Pictures is the other Ellison property for media. And during the Tom Cruise movie, not Fly Boys. What's the one with the Top Gun Maverick? They were like funded by, I think it was like Tencent or something like that, or like one of the Chinese like tech companies or something. And because of that, there was a cut of the film, the original cut. They had taken out on one of the fighter pilot jackets, there was a Japanese emblem that was like, where it was just trying to be historically accurate. And China had asked that they remove the Japan emblem from all of the helmets and all of the jackets. And so the release in China didn't have any of that on it. And there was an early cut of it in America that also didn't have it on it. Too many people started complaining, and they ended up putting it back on before it released worldwide. But it just shows you how willing they are to manipulate media based off of whoever it is investing, and literally try to, even though it's like Top Gun Maverick, is it real? No, it's not a documentary, but it still is like, if you're going to change history about it, it pisses me off. So that's just a little taste into that. But yeah, look at this kid. Look at this guy, little actor guy. Oh my God, have you ever seen such nepo babies? Oh my God. Yeah, he was in the Stormtroopers, somebody's like student film type thing. Anyways, Terminator, let's see. All right, let's read his piece. But yeah, he failed actor. And then there's also a sister who has Annapurna Pictures. Wait, Annapurna Pictures. And I don't know what she's doing now. I think, by the way, I think she's queer.
I'm showing me idea, I know, nepo. Well, I've heard of a seppo. Nepo. Isn't that what they call a sport brat? Fucking I think it is. Someone born with a silver spoon in their gob.
And so I wonder how she feels about her father and what he's doing. But yeah, they also own Annapurna Pictures. People tend to forget that. It's video game IP, a lot of that, and the films as well. But yeah, they have a lot of media. A lot of media. Okay, let's read opinion piece. David Ellison, share this. David Ellison in defense of Paramount Warner deal. Many people have let me put this here. Many people have weighed in on Paramount's agreement to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. Media analysts, power brokers, political commentators, that's me, competitors, and of course lawyers. For a transaction of this size, that is expected and appropriate. The one person you haven't heard from is me. Because I don't want to do it. I don't want to read it. It's gonna be one of those. All right. Oh, let's hear what you have to say. I forgot you are the voice that is not being lifted in this conversation. There is a reason for that. I believe that anybody. I'm not going to do it with a tone. I believe that anybody who oversees news organizations. I am chief executive of Paramount, which owns CBS. Shouldn't have. By the way, this is a very AI-ism where AI likes writing where it interrupts itself to like give context, but it does it right in the middle of a thought. It's the weirdest thing. I don't like that. Not an accusation, just an observation. Shouldn't put a finger on that scale, especially on matters involving his own company. So when California's Attorney General, 11 other state attorneys general, and a day later, the Writers Guild of America sued to stop the deal, I stayed quiet. I quickly learned such restraint has costs. While I was silent, others were happy to write my story for me. No more. Oh my god, I knew he wanted to be an actor. I didn't know he wanted to be a writer. Excuse me, guys. I'm very excited by this. Okay. So the state claims this deal will give one company too much influence over theatrical releases and cable operators, while the WGA argues that our combined market power will hurt writers. Both suits imagine a Hollywood that no longer exists, an industry ruled by a handful of legacy studios. Add up every hour Americans spend watching television, and a combined Paramount Warner would account for less than 20% of all watch time. What about TikTok watch time? What about Annapurna watch time? There was a lot missing here, a lot of subcontext missing here. Competing every day against Netflix, Amazon, Apple, which are all companies whose resources dwarf ours. Include YouTube's user-generated content in that math, and our share would drop to around 13%. The share's not the same thing as, okay, whatever. A combined company would account for just 18% of domestic box office over the past 12 months and only 22% on average over the past 2 years. Those are not the numbers of a company that can dictate what audiences watch or what writers get paid. I don't think that's that's not at least what I think is the problem. But again, I also am not an economist, so maybe I shouldn't speak on that. I believe this fight is not really about market share. If it were, it wouldn't have been reviewed and approved by regulators reflecting 65 countries, including the United States and China. Well, I'm glad the United States and China. Lord knows your dad doesn't have any connections in the United States or China. Tiananmen Square, that's a story for another time. Larry Ellison just happens to show up a year later with all the tech that they want to start implementing. Golden Gate, which now we're doing a Golden Gate. Again, story for another time. But yeah, we're a little bit like, let's just say we're keeping the enemy close. We are very much in bed with China. As well as European Union. And Tony Blair's running the European Union still because Ellison brought him into his board, the little war criminal Tony Blair. God, and with his long hair, he looks like a villain. Look at me like AI interrupting myself. As the European Union, I believe that a plainer worry sits beneath the briefs and news releases. The news. The issue is whether I can be trusted as a steward of Warner's CNN. There's been speculation about my politics, my loyalties. Wait, I meant to have this picture ready. Wait. Oh shoot. What's the name of the Mitch McConnell. Yeah. Oh shoot, where's the picture? Here. Sorry guys. This is worth it. I don't want to read the next paragraph until I have this picture. Here we go. Okay. Let me put this on the screen. Just take this down. Remove and share. Add an image. There we go. Yeah. As we were. Let me go back to this. There has been much speculation about my politics, my loyalties, and my intentions. Unfortunately, I can't give anyone a view into my heart and mind. I don't want to read this, guys. This is so stupid. What is he saying? I can't give anyone a view into my heart and mind. You know, Larry Ellison also does this really stupid, fake sappy stuff where, in the book that I read about him, the difference between God and Larry Ellison. God doesn't think he's Larry Ellison. There's so much romanticism of he's a lover and that's why he has so many wives, or he's had so many wives. He just falls in love again and again, and there's such a gentle part of him that whatever, and it's just not. Larry Ellison is a man of many infatuations with the world, and he loves Japan. There's this weird it's an aestheticized occupation of something empty. It's so weird. But anyways, save it for your journal, freaking David. Unfortunately, I can't give anyone a view into my heart and mind, but I can share this. I have regularly voted for candidates of both parties. Yeah, your dad's paid for most of them too. I hold some views that would be called conservative, and others that would be called liberal, and some that might be called Israeli or Jewish. I don't know. That's you just seem to leave that one out, just like most Americans. And when it comes to our news operations, I do not aspire to lead these companies to bend their newsrooms to my views. My father's views, however, asterisks, perhaps. I believe that news should be based on facts and truth. My facts and my truth. I'm editorializing if you're just listening. He's not saying these things. But he is saying these things, but not. But you should watch this on YouTube. Great news organizations like CNN and CBS News are here to tell it straight down the middle. Okay? That requires newsrooms that reflect the world, not one side of it. And it requires independence. Our journalists will continue to answer to facts and to all of the people they serve, not to any party or cause. These were founding principles for CNN and CBS News, for legends like Ted Turner and Edward R. Murrow, and is exactly the kind of independence that has always fueled the greatness of 60 Minutes. Wait a second. Didn't they get rid of 60 Minutes? What do you mean the greatness of 60 Minutes?
You don't know it.
Or CBS.
I sure did.
Let me go back to sharing this so you guys can see.
So 60 Minutes Australia had to cover it.
This guy, that largely is. Let's see. Add. Let's just stop. Okay, there we go. Didn't this former 60 Minutes correspondents and Scott Pell, yeah, they're starting their own. Will teach at Columbia Journalism School. Well, that's good for them. I went to Hunter College journalism. I was in the journalism department, and the cool thing about city universities is that Columbia journalism professors used to teach adjunct over at our school, so we got a lot of the same teachers for 1/80th of the price. But yeah, I thought that there's a whole problem with CBS and 60 Minutes in exile. Our former producers, correspondents, plotting. Oh, interesting. So it's interesting that you chose to include this. Barry Weiss at 60 Minutes hires producer who downplayed cause of starvation. Yeah, it's definitely being weaponized. Okay, share this down. I'll let you guys read with me again. So the greatness of 60 Minutes. There is much ground to recover. By Gallup's latest measure, just 28% of Americans say they trust the news, the lowest share ever recorded. Well, here's the thing. People don't not trust news. People don't trust the people who are in charge of news. And this is kind of a little bit of a specificity that bothers me when people say, I hate AI. And I'm like, can we just say who we hate? Can we say I hate Elon Musk or Sam Altman or the companies that are behind AI? Because when we just do these blanket statements like that, we hate the news or we don't trust the news, let's talk about who we don't trust, because I don't trust Larry Ellison. You know, I don't trust, there are certain producers that I don't trust, but like, I think we need to practice being specific. That's going to help our media literacy a lot more and not allow them to kind of weaponize this language, I think, in my opinion. The lowest ever recorded, the temptation is to say that the problem lies elsewhere. Yeah, in your like billionaires' pockets. Our obligation is to look inward and say, we can do better. We are in a moment when Americans trust few institutions, but journalists haven't always helped their case by refusing to engage with critiques. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the thesis. It's the journalist's fault, not the institution's fault. It's on the journalist. I need to take a lap. 1 second. Oh, a new technique. Of course it's the journalist's fault. Of course it's the journalist's fault. We need to look at how journalists are not helping the case of the distrusted news by not being able to engage with critiques. Lord knows Barry Weiss engages with critiques all the time. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm reading this with you guys, because otherwise I would have just had to scream on my own. This is stupid. Dude, he's a poor writer. Trust can't be argued back, but it can be earned back. What does that mean? Can be argued back. Story by story, day by day. In an age when so much of what fills our screen is machine generated or engineered to enrage. Look at every tech stack that Oracle has. They're making fake news reports. I found a GitHub of a stack that has largely people who are companies that are right now with Oracle and like building with Oracle that are making fake news, like literal fake artificial intelligence news anchors like they did in Venezuela over the past 3 years.
Another parallel. One news. One nation's one news station, which is AI slot. And they're using Indonesia to push propaganda here in Australia on social media platforms. Another parallel. You see what I'm saying? There's parallels all through it.
So, I mean, it's just, I know that all this seems obvious and it feels like pointless to just get frustrated where it's like, this is all, like, he knows that that's true, that it's them that's the problem. And this is rage bait. This is rage bait too. This freaking journalism from real reporters that matters more than ever.
Yeah, right.
That's whether the work I intend to pay for, you intend to pay for, or Saudi Arabia and the UAE and your dad in Oracle stock patiently for a long time. Which brings me to what we aim to build. The Paramount Warner deal begins with the movies. I have loved films since I was old enough to sit still for one, and scenes from movies have shaped who I am. A boy riding a bicycle silhouetted against a full moon. This is the most AI pro. Like, this is so. I'm not going to put this into Pangram because I don't want to encourage that kind of that thing, but it would be funny just to see in general what it came out. Is not that you could trust it, but this is just so stupid. I've loved film. If somebody gets this as a lower back tattoo, I'll pay you $50. I'll pay for the tattoo and I'll pay you $50. I have loved film since I was old enough to sit still for one, and scenes from the movies have shaped who I am. A boy riding a bicycle silhouetted against the full moon, twin suns setting over the desert, jets dogfighting off California. That sounds like Larry Ellison's obsessed with aviation. Behind each of these moments, twin sunsets, twin suns, by the way, saying, what is a twin sun? I've heard of twin flames, but okay. Behind each of these moments stands real money, real risk, and hundreds of brilliant artists who tell stories who count on the movies to keep them employed. The machinery is in trouble. Hollywood is losing ground to technology platforms whose algorithms reward the loudest voices. The work is leaving, especially from California, where by the way, the platforms reward those algorithms. Your dad makes the platform algorithms. Like, this is so stupid. This is stupid. God, where I grew up and where I'm raising my family, drain the deepest pool of the creative talent has ever assembled. I understand that promises from an executive in the middle of a merger invite skepticism. No, I would say you invite skepticism specifically, not an executive. Come on. So judge us by the year we just had. Since I took over Paramount, we've nearly doubled our theatrical slate from 8 films last year. Wait, let's pull up how many layoffs have been first. Paramount layoffs 2025 and 6. Let's get those numbers in front of us. Okay. Paramount, okay, The Guardian. Paramount's guidance to eliminate 2,000 U.S. jobs. Paramount's guidance 2026, another 2,000 jobs. Let's see. Yeah, 1,000 workers in late October, another 1,000 soon to follow. Okay, so thousands, lots of thousands. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you guys weren't reading with me. That's my bad. Sorry, I'll put you back on. This one. Let me take you back so you can see the twin flames thing. This was stupid. I've loved film since I was old enough to sit still for one. Blah, blah, blah. I'm a boy riding a bicycle silhouetted against the full moon, twin suns setting over the desert, jets, dog fighting off California. Behind each of those moments stands real money. Yeah, this is pretty stupid. Lower back tattoo still stands. Show picture, or you can get the silhouette of him as a young boy riding a bicycle against the sun, the twin suns setting over the desert with jets dog fighting off California. Interpretive, but you'll win a prize. Don't do it, but do it. Okay, let's look at that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can expect 90 series from our television studios. They acquired a lot of TV, by the way. Also, they have Pluto TV now as well. They run Pluto TV. So, we raised our content investment by 1.5 billion. We did that before a deal was signed and any of the lawsuit was filed because making more is the whole point of the company. We are building the commitments we have made for the proposed Paramount Warner extended that trajectory, 30 theatrical films a year, 170 television series annually for our own platforms and for our competitors, more than 30 billion in annual content investment. I have learned better than to promise hits in my career. G.I. Joe, Retaliation, met financial expectations. Top Gun Maverick exceeded them, and Terminator Dark Fate fell short. I'm proud of all of these films, but nobody can dictate what audiences will love. I will. What I can promise is the work and more of it. A deal this size is lived out in public, and I have felt every bit of that. I don't ask to be taken at my word. The commitments are in writing, and the work will be seen on screens where anyone can judge it. Hollywood's story can have a happy ending only when we connect with our audience. It's the audience, the American people, that has the final say in whether a movie succeeds or fails, whether a news organization thrives or withers. That's actually not the job of the American people to run a news organization. I just want to let everybody know, if you think it's your job to run a news organization, it's not. I shouldn't be doing this independently. Like, theoretically, if we were working within a society that was functioning and like had actual independence and the First Amendment rights, I wouldn't have to be doing this right now. I could be writing movies about twin sunsets too, which is what I moved out here for. But that's still, I'm very happy with what I'm doing. But I'm just saying, let's put things in perspective here. It's not our job to run news organizations. It shouldn't be up to us to have to find this information out. Mm-hmm. And therefore, whether our industry succeeds or fails, I want to build a company with the strength and resources to deliver for those audiences who turn up for us, for storytellers who rely.
Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me how these people are like, they get invested and attached to certain politicians because they tell them what they want to hear. Oh, no, he's telling the truth. No, they're not. No, they're not. What do you think all the surveys and shit for? What do you think censuses are for? What do you think, the little surveys you do online are for? We'd like your feedback on this, blah, blah, blah. Consultancy agencies, what do you think they're for? Well, we just dealt with the consultancy agency. Found out we was paid $50 each, right, to go up to that local housing office up here. The supposed Housing Choices Resident Focus Group meeting was with a consultancy agency. And we got $50 each to answer some questions and to give our feedback on what we thought. And I was a bit overwhelmed, I think, because a couple of us there were like, yeah, no, you want to know what we thought, what we think? You're going to get told what we think. And now I'm pushing to have a follow-up meeting. I'm trying to turn that into an actual committee. No, we don't want to be played like that, because they've had a follow-up meeting now without even coming back to us. Like the office staff have gone and had another follow-up meeting with the consultancy agency. No one's come back to us to ask us what we think is anything. Not one thing has been addressed. It's just a data collection exercise. That's all it was. We've been had. I kind of knew it. I knew it wasn't going to be legit, but I turned up. You know. And because I don't need it, I go that $50 voucher to somebody else who needs it more.
On us, and for a country that dreamed this all up. Can I just say that this is the gayest essay, the gayest article I've ever seen. From a CEO of a multi-million-dollar for-profit company.
No, pretty tacky, isn't it?
That was something. Okay, so clearly the point of reading this, I'm gonna be thinking about this for a while. That silhouette of a boy. The point of this is that they make the whole argument about CNN, and I think that that's important to acknowledge, because by making this about CNN, they've now put in the public record in an article on a paper record with the New York Times that is what this seems to be about. He is saying that they've had Brendan Carr planting hints that this is going to be about something larger than that they feel like it's about CNN, and then Rob Bonta's like, actually no, it's not about CNN, and then he's saying like, oh, this is about CNN, everybody's making this about my politics, I don't want it to be about my politics, and everybody's implanting these little stories, and so they're clearly trying to make it about CNN so that can be the one thing that ends up saving this deal rather than waiting for litigation to happen later in the year. I do think it is interesting though that his lawyers, when originally it was suggested that the trial for this merger lawsuit was going to be in like April, they suggested 2027, and his lawyers were like, well, why don't we do, I don't know, random date, November 4th of 2026, which is the day after midterms, which tells you, and again, my thesis is that CNN's already been spun off into something that is being controlled by this entity and is not actually as in this deal, like in the wings as we think. I think that there's a lot of mechanisms that have already been in works and is working here. Again, you have to go read my piece and watch it to see the specifics of what I'm talking about. But I say that because then when you open a lawsuit, you open the process of discovery. And the process of discovery means that you have investigators and lawyers who are looking into pulling all of your records, all of your files, the things that, like, I was doing open source and intelligence investigating in that piece, that they would actually be able to do on the record with the official records straight from these banks. And once you allow for that kind of visibility, then you allow for like them to say, okay, well, this has actually been illegal the way you've been doing this for the past 6 months. So I think it's interesting that they waited. They want to do it the day after midterm. So that's why I think that it's already in control / being controlled by this company to some degree. And every time I find a new piece of evidence, it just keeps pointing me in the direction of this is exactly what this is about. And so I don't think that they want to offer the that accessibility for visibility. And they're hoping probably that they can make this enough about CNN to just spin it off and call it a day with that and not have to actually open a court case. But yeah, every day keeps pointing me closer to, I think that that's already been done. And we're running long. And so I am going to cap it there. This is clearly going to be ongoing. And so next week in the live, we can pick up with obviously this Title II of the Big Beautiful Bill, but also what's been happening with Oracle stock during this war that is affecting the Paramount merger. And keep an eye on it, guys. Again, so when it comes to all of these news stations, I'm not saying don't trust. I know most people don't like watching CNN or trusting CNN. Remember that a lot of the news aggregators that you watch, including myself, including Aaron Parnas, including anybody who you organization or your news board, that they are pulling from CNN. They're pulling from places like these big organizations, whether you trust it or not. And so not being able to see behind who is running that, I think, is a really scary thing. Let me turn my lights so it's a little brighter behind here. Okay, I'm also losing sunlight because it's getting dark here. But fact check everything. I would say don't spend time. Something I'm realizing is especially when it comes to synthetic media, and they want all of us spending time trying to disprove if something's AI media or something's not, or throw it in an AI scanner or see if it's not. I would say just whatever the news story is, whether than deciding to believe it or not, look at whatever the mechanism of it serves. So it doesn't matter to some degree if in some stories if it's true or not. You can just look at the mechanism behind it and say, well, what would this serve if it either case were true? And sometimes that's the best way to not drive yourself crazy with not being able to trust the news. So with that, thank you guys. This has been a lot. It's been a heavy week. There's a lot going on, and I'm looking forward to being able to do these lives and stuff with you guys. But it reminds me just of how much is actually going on throughout these weeks. Oh my God, that we just don't. I wish we had more independent journalists who were wanting to investigate their own, do their own original investigations, because there's a lot that we need to get on. I mean, I started reporting on this stuff back in October, and we're only just now in the end of July, beginning of August, filing these lawsuits. And it's a lot of this stuff is already done, so it's kind of scary. Anyway, next week, I live right next to a fire station, sorry. Gabby is going to be in the studio next week, and I'm really looking forward to it. Gabby, jump on, say hi to the people. Do you feel comfortable? There we are. Gabby!
Hello.
Journalist, producer extraordinaire Gabby. And so we're going to be playing around with that, but it'll be exciting. So that way, when I start doing something and I'm not watching the screen, Gabby can just be like, hey, you need to unmute yourself.
You're doing amazing, Jay.
Gabby, what do you think of the news? What do you think of the fact that it's journalists who need to be taken more held accountable, or need to take criticism better? You don't need to billionaires need to take criticism better. My God.
Oh my God. I don't know if you saw me in the corner the whole way through the stream. I was like,
I know.
I'm sure everyone else was as well in the comments.
We've got an Australia in there, look. Go, Gabby, go. Leg.
Insane. Gabby, where can the people find you in the meantime? You just have a new video out too.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I interviewed a guy I do a lot of criminal justice, prison stuff. And I interviewed a guy who was wrongfully convicted on Ohio's death row for 27 years. And yeah, just about what it's like to sit on death row when you haven't done anything wrong. So yeah.
And the discovery process of that is just, it's I think back to the standards in which you have to hit for things to be processed, with the AI lawsuits and with going to death row, you would think that there is a standard that's tight enough to where you'd have to meet that credential of evidence, and you often don't.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you would think so with a life on the line.
Oh,
There would be really tight procedures in place, but unfortunately, it happens more often than we think. In fact, the guy that I interviewed is the 201st person to be exonerated from death row in the United States. So that's 201 people we almost killed for something.
To get in contact and interview him, where'd you go?
Yeah, I'm in touch with an amazing organization called Death Penalty Action, who help people try and get back on their feet after they're released from death row. And then the Innocence Project also took on his case. So I read a little bit about his case on the Innocence Project. But he's trying to get back on his feet. He's trying to get some compensation from the state because now he was released from prison, almost 30 years later. He can't work. He's elderly.
It's going to be, and then snap. Bring it back.
Right.
How's he gonna eat?
Exactly, it all ties together.
Oh,
exactly. So yeah, he's trying to get back on it, get his life back on track. So I appreciate the shout out, Drey. But
yeah, go check out his video with him. Yeah, it's stories that I feel again, the popularization of certain stories. These ones often get missed, so everybody should go check it out. We'll put it in the description after we post this later tonight. And yeah, we'll be in the studio next week. Guys, we'll play it out with some nice jazz. Did you guys notice the thunder? And I did a little edit for the rain that was that I had it a little drizzle rain outside the window of the girl who's looking out. And I did some Thunderstorm too. It was pretty good. Play it, Gabs. Let's play the. I won't do the thunder.
Right.
Stop with that. Wait, go back. It was good. I like that. It took me too long to do that, and that's why I was late, partially. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we miss ya.
Yeah, so now you have met the Drey Dossier. And so, like I say, she brings it. She brings the receipts and does the deep dives, not down rabbit holes, down official paperwork, official documents, open source, available to the general public. Excuse me. Which is, more than I can say for probably 90% of the barbarians on YouTube. Like I say, it's not a huge collection of books. But when I want to know something, and I want to know where it came from, it's all outdated or whatever. No. Right? Yeah, it's 1926 to 1936, books of Acts, in alphabetical order. Official. Oh, yeah, that's envelopes and notes from an old copper in Penguin. Impounding. Let's look at impounding, the laws around impounding. See, we say, by having these, we see how it's changed. How it's changed from one thing, turned into something else, right? And then we have to look at the vehicle. That's the vehicle. The changing of legislation is a vehicle to carry something else, right? And she says the mechanisms behind. You have to try and work out, okay, they change that legislation. Why? What does it serve? Like just saying, oh, we got new police powers in case of blah, 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 to try and fight family violence. No, that's not why it is. That's the vehicle to carry the legislation. The reason they're doing it is so they can just walk in and out of anybody's house whenever they want and say, oh, look, we had reports of a disturbance. We just need to come in and have a look. Why? You might be new in the neighbourhood. Right? Could be anything. Could be anything. Right? Things like those. We've noticed a certain uptick all of a sudden in certain products being bought from a certain shop. We just need to come in and have a look, make sure you're not growing hydroponic marijuana when you could be growing tomatoes out the back and using it for cat litter like I do. Pot and mix. This time of year I'll buy a shitload of it because it's planting season. See how that works? Everything is a vehicle to carry something else. Everything that you're seeing is not what it seems. It's not what you think. Now, if they were serious, like I said, if they were serious about this so-called government, this inquiry and so-called Royal Commission or whatever into the vaccination rollouts and mandates surrounding COVID, they'd go straight to the jugular straight away and go, look, we know it's a big load of shit because of Event 201. Can you explain 201 why it's too much of a coincidence? I'm sorry. Way too much of a coincidence. So you know it's not actually about that, don't you? It's gatekeeping, it's keeping us busy, it's keeping us fighting with one another. But what vehicle is that carrying? Do you think maybe it might be more along the lines of who cashed in? How many stay-at-home I've got the COVID payments did you get from MyGov? I know some people that got 9. That sounds a bit more feasible because they're looking at the moment the legislation. Who drew up the legislation? What the fraud behind the what was it? The fraudulent claims of COVID COVID stimulus or something it was called. It's basically they open that up, that opens up that whole file, that bureaucratic thing. Follow that down the line. Right, who got a shitload of payments they shouldn't have got because they can't use robo-debt to come after it. That sounds more like it, yeah? I know, puss. I know. Stop believing the words that come out of their mouths and look at what's going on behind the scenes. Read between the lines, scrutinise it, and think, what purpose does this serve other than what they're talking about? The vehicle. Which is why I represent myself in court now. Because I'm sick of being the vehicle for a three-ring circus of revenue. Good night and God bless you.